Hi, welcome to Recruiter Fuel. I'm David Budashevsky, the videographer here at Qualidence International. I'm here again with Michael Bonasso to talk about something that's more nebulous, you have your street smarts and your book smarts, but what does it take to be a recruiter? Because I feel like you can go to all the classes you want, you can, read all the books, and you can study all the, people who talk about how you talk to people and how you bring people into your circle. But there's got to be something there else than just that.
Yeah,
What do you think about that?
it is definitely a nebulous topic. It's hard to define at times because we serve so many different purposes and we fill so many different roles, literally and figuratively. But I think at the core of any recruiter needs to be a sincere and empathetic human being. You can't work with people as much as a recruiter does and not be empathetic, sympathetic, and just completely understanding of where you're meeting somebody on their career path. To say that someone's professional life and their personal life don't intersect would be a complete lie. And I think if we look past the fact that at the end of the day we're talking to human beings, they happen to be candidates, they happen to match the description that you're looking for your, any given job that you're working on, but they're human beings at the end of the day. And people know when someone that they're speaking to is not genuine or that they're self-interested. And they know it intuitively. So I think that the biggest thing about being a recruiter is being as genuine and human as you possibly can.
I think that plays into I don't know what they call it. It's like a list basically of like things that can happen in your life that are like life changing kind of things.
Yeah.
It's basically like buying a house or like meeting your spouse kind of thing. And I think in the top five, if not top three, starting a career, starting a job is like up there as like as far as
Absolutely.
stress goes. So you got to think like you're reaching out to someone, you're making a huge life impact to them.
Oh yeah, and it could be a long-term impact also. I know that the amount of time that people spend on average in any given job has shortened over the years and the decades, but at the same time, if you are assisting somebody in finding a new position, whether they're currently working and they're just open to what's out there, or they're unemployed and really need to find something new, whatever side it is, it's a very impactful role that we play. And which is why it's so important that we're genuine and honest about our approach, and about, the job that we have. Because if we misrepresent a job that we're recruiting for, this person thinks they're making a good decision based on the information they've been given, but what does that get you at the end of the day? Sure, you might be able to fill the job quicker, but my take on it is, and our philosophy on it is that it'd be better that it takes a little bit longer to fill any given job as long as it's the right fit all around.
Yeah.
And you have to be genuine and honest to do that properly.
What made you get into recruiting? Because you started, what, 4 years ago now?
I started recruiting it was June of 21. And that was my first recruiting role. I had been in sales in previous roles, whether it was real estate or, business to business. And to be honest, I could have had a recruiting job way before then if I wanted to. I never really considered it as a viable option for me until I had a friend who had a good opportunity. I tried it out and it seemed to be a really good fit. And what I learned, between then and now is the importance of not taking the human element out of things and not sacrificing what you know is most important for a few extra bucks or for a quicker placement. Because at the end of the day, it works out better for everybody if your interest is aligned with the candidate's interest, is aligned with the client's interest. If everyone is moving in the same direction, everything works out a lot better. So A lot of my reasoning for getting involved with recruiting is just because it enables you to help people in a way that, like we were talking about, it can be very profound. So there are people that I've placed over the years that I'm still in contact with, even if they're not in the job that I placed them in. It's such a significant role that we play, at least it can be.
I feel like I've heard that from a few people here, actually, that they've been in touch with somebody that they've placed or someone they work with placing for almost a decade now,
Hmm.
'cause it's just it's that important to somebody,
Yeah,
and I still remember the person who brought me in here, and I hope, she's doing well as well. So,
yeah,
it's, the weird sort of like, to think about as a connection, but it is like a life connection kind of
it
thing.
really is. And I just last week I got a text. It was on New Year, or it's right after New Year.
Hmm.
I got a text from a gentleman that I placed almost 3 years ago, and he didn't want anything from me. He didn't have any questions. He wasn't looking for advice. It was nothing like that. He was checking to see how I was doing and wanted to wish me Happy New Year. It's little things like that, and that too is what makes the work we do so rewarding. And that goes into, if that kind of relationship doesn't excite you, you might not be cut out for this kind of work, because that is such a huge part of the motivation that we have to do the work that we do.
Outside of, I wouldn't even, is it still, been here for, over a year now, going on 2 years. It's still weird to me to this whole aspect of where you sort of learn to start recruiting, right? Because it does seem like it's such an intrapersonal thing that it's like you almost just have to have like a passion for it. Um, but where would someone get started to sort of do recruiting if they were interested in that or start learning how
Where
to?
would someone get started?
Yeah,
Oh man, you know, it, there are a lot of jobs and different career paths you can go down if you might be interested in something like recruiting. There are different industries, and there are industry specific recruiters. A close friend of mine is specifically involved in physician and physician assistant recruiting, right? We're more generalists, so we'll do any kind of job that is in our wheelhouse, but that's pretty broad. Then there are other companies like the larger recruiting houses that were built around the automotive industry, and they specialize in either geographic areas or, again, specific industries. So I think the first thing that you need to do is figure out if there is a niche for you out there. If you're looking to get into recruiting, do you want to start with a huge company? Maybe. There are benefits to doing that. But at the same time, do you want to start with a small company? There are also benefits to doing that. And I think just figuring out what your goal really is. Do you want to build a career in recruiting, or do you want to gain experience to be in some kind of sales role? Because, like myself, having experience in sales lends itself well to this kind of role, but it's a very different kind of product that we're selling,
hmm,
right? We're calling people. So, cold calling and recruiting is very different than cold calling in business to business sales. So, you know, I think that there are a lot of different paths that one can go down to determine whether or not, a career in recruiting would be for them. But the only real way to do that is to jump in and get involved with a company.
yeah. It does seem like there's a little bit of an overlap when you think about the idea of sales, right? If you have a knack for sales or an eye for sales, you could sort of transfer that into, selling a position in a
Mhm.
way, or selling a person to a company kind
Exactly.
of thing. So,
Exactly, and that's really what it comes down to is you know, it doesn't even have to be a skill of being able to sell, but there's a certain personality. You have to be personable. You have to be relatable. Going back to it, you have to be empathetic, and you have to be genuine.
yeah.
You think about the stereotypes for salespeople. There's always that fat cat at the used car lot that people
Sure,
think
yeah.
of, but that's
There's a
not
big
what I'm talking.
cigar.
Exactly, that's not what I'm talking about, though. What I'm talking about is solution sales, relationship based selling. That is the kind of thing that lends itself well to recruiting, because what we do. Everything we have is based on the relationships that we build. And, even when you get down to candidate pipeline management, like it's all about the relationships that you have and how well you sustain them.
I I feel like even more now than ever that sort of actual personal connection is going to be more important going on because like you said, people aren't staying at, certain jobs for long as they used to.
Yep.
And that's because they don't have that connection or they don't want that connection, so to speak. But if you can speak to them on that level and make them feel like, and actually commit to bringing somebody up and looking out for their best interest and making sure that when you bring them in they're going to be have a path upwards or wherever they want to do. Being able to sell that aspect of it is going to be more important going forward because this that honesty and empathy is it's all you have at that point.
100%. And, selling somebody on a new position to convince them to leave a company they've been at is one thing, but then, let's talk about the conundrum of the purple squirrel, if you will. Purple squirrel is like a unicorn type candidate, someone that has all the qualifications you're looking for. They're engaged, they respond to your messaging, they're in the money, they're perfect for all intents and purposes, right? You have to assume that if they're valuable to you, they're valuable to another recruiter. So there's a certain competitive nature that it just goes hand in hand with this kind of work, whether you're commissioned or not. You have to assume that top talent is always going to be in high demand. And with LinkedIn and Monster and Indeed, these people are getting reached out to a dozen times a week, if not more. And
I'm not even looking and I get reached out to.
100%. Absolutely. And it's unbelievable. And honestly, the majority of the responses I get when I finally get someone to respond comes down to, oh, I didn't respond initially because I thought that maybe this was spam, or I thought that, I've had a bad experience with the recruiter, whatever it might be. You just need to get someone on the phone or to respond to a message. And the best way to do that is to just be a human and be genuine. And it's not even about pretending to care. You have to care because it's that important. You can't pretend. And that's another thing. People know if you're faking it. People know. So you have to be genuine. You have to actually care to fit into this kind of role, to be successful, and to ultimately put people in positions where they can be successful long-term and short-term, but long-term specifically.
The bar is low. You just have to care. No, it's a great conversation. I want to thank you again for being on.
Absolutely.
It's always a great time to have you here, man.
Thanks, David.